What's going on, guys? It's the Unhinged Engineer here, and today I want to talk about what it's like being an extroverted software engineer. Now, I'm sure you've heard the stereotypes that software engineers just sit at their computer for 10 hours a day without any social interaction and somehow manage to be productive and stay sane, right? I am very much not one of those people. If I code or work in any capacity for like more than 2 or 3 hours without some form of human interaction, whether it's just like passing somebody in the hallway or calling up a family member for like 10, 15 minutes, whatever, right? If I don't get my social fill, I can't be as productive as I need to be, right? And so it's been a little strange comparing myself to these like stereotypical, super antisocial software engineers. But I've come to realize that being an extrovert in this field can actually be a huge advantage if you use it right, if you use it properly. And so I want to talk about like the main areas in which I think being an extrovert can have huge payoff over the course of our careers, right? And the three general areas I want to talk about are technical communication, which is basically presenting our work, dealing with meetings and managers, both of which are a huge part of everyday life, and then networking, both for our current job as well as our next job, right? And I think in all these ways, like being an extrovert has its benefits that people kind of underestimate because again, software engineering can be an often stereotypically antisocial field. And for the record, I'm not saying that introverts can't do any of these things. If you're like at your core an introvert or struggle with these things, I think this video will still be valuable to you. But I just wanted to call out my other like extroverted software engineers because I know we kind of go against the stereotype sometimes, right? So without further ado, let's get right into it with technical communication, okay? So I'm gonna make a bold claim here. I believe that communicating our work is always greater than or equal to actually doing the work in terms of importance, both personally and for our organization, right? And I know that's a bold claim, but I truly believe it, right? Because from a personal standpoint, we can't be recognized or rewarded for work that people don't know exists or don't know is good. And similarly, our organization can't maximize the returns on work they don't know about, right? If you build an awesome tool, but can't evangelize it to all the other people you work with, then they're not going to get the value out of the tool, like value that you worked really hard to provide. It's not going to get there because they don't know what the hell it is or why they should use it, right? And so the larger an organization gets, it becomes more and more important that you're able to communicate your work. And again, in my opinion, because of this fact that if you can't communicate it, it's often not going to give you or the organization the rewards they want. I think that being able to communicate your work effectively is just as important, if not more so, than actually doing the work effectively, okay? And so because of that, knowing that I'm an extrovert and within 5 minutes of talking to me and hearing me yap, you can tell that I'm an extrovert. I want to be known as someone who can really communicate their work properly. Honestly, part of why I started this YouTube channel is to improve my communication skills even more, right? And so every time I have to present something or speak publicly, I really, really put a lot of effort into it. I really want to knock it out of the park. I prepare, I practice, I put a lot of effort into it. More effort than other more established engineers might be inclined to, because I want to be known as someone who can communicate work, because those are the people who often become, working between different teams or even leading teams, right? People who communicate their work well. And, again, technical communication is like a huge field. I could talk about it for hours and probably will over the course of this channel. But it's just important to recognize that like as an extrovert, usually extroversion and stage fright are inversely proportional, right? And so if we're naturally inclined to go and talk to people and present what we do, we should really make an effort to do it because this is how we can seriously move the needle in terms of what we do. It's all about leveraging our work, right? And part of that leverage is being able to actually get it out there to other people. So now let's talk about meetings and managers. And starting off with meetings, I know meetings can be a little controversial, because another stereotype is that software engineers hate meetings. And I gotta be honest, I don't think the stereotype that software engineers are antisocial is true, but I do think that the stereotype that software engineers hate meetings can be very true. And I feel like I'm in the extreme minority when I say that I actually like meetings, I enjoy meetings, and a somewhat unproductive meeting here and there doesn't bother me as much as it might bother other people. But there are two kinds of meetings that I hate and just about everyone hates, right? And unfortunately, they're very common in engineering in general. So meetings we hate, okay? Meeting type number 1. Those that don't need to happen. It's just like, why the hell are we here having this meeting, right? Instead of talking about the work in a way that we don't need to, I could just be doing it, right? Or I could just be doing something else, right? Which leads me to my second type of meeting that I hate just about everyone does. Meetings that we don't need to be at, right? And this is the one this is my personal pet peeve. It almost feels insulting when like I'm forced to sit in a meeting that I don't contribute anything to, don't have any input on, don't have any expertise in, just because, right? And thankfully, like these meetings, if you have a good manager, are pretty rare. Like a good manager will allocate people accordingly, just like we allocate memory, right? They'll allocate people to where they need to be. And so thankfully this has been rarer over the course of my career. But unfortunately there are lots of meetings that just don't need to happen, that kind of suck, right? But assuming we're in a meeting that does need to happen and that we do need to be at, again, this is an opportunity to maximize our skills as an extrovert, right? We're talking in groups, maybe part of it's presenting our work, even if it's less formal. We're making decisions together. There could be like elements of confrontation if people disagree, right? Dealing with all these social interactions is something that if you are like an extreme extrovert like I am, might come naturally to you. And so you should really like leverage those social skills in order to be more effective in meetings, be more engaged, engage more people, right? I mean, this is also an opportunity where we can kind of work to involve our less extroverted, more introverted colleagues, right? Which is a great thing, always to help each other. So yeah, like really maximize meetings if you kind of enjoy meetings like I do. I enjoy talking to people. When I code for 2 hours and I have to go to a meeting, I'm like, oh, finally, I can like talk to someone, right? So if you aren't a total meeting hater, like some people genuinely are, then like leverage that to your advantage, right? On the subject of managers, I think there's a core point here that the conversation between you and your manager is the only conversation that genuinely like needs to happen. It's a part of both your jobs. Your manager's job is to manage people and make sure everyone's being used as effectively as possible. And part of your job is reporting to your manager, right? So these conversations you have with your manager are the ones that genuinely like are part of your job. Versus all your other software engineers, even if you're on the same team, y'all's job is to solve problems, is to get shit done, right? And so if talking to you gets in the way of people doing their jobs and they're good at their job, they're probably not going to talk to you, right? So our manager can serve as our outlet, both in terms of professional development, getting things across to the rest of the team that they might just not be having conversations they need to have with you, and also just like an outlet of someone to talk to, right? Which is another reason it's very, very important to have a good manager. I've had fantastic managers and I've had shitty managers, and I'll take fantastic ones every time, right? So managers are really important, and as an extrovert, recognize that they're the person who has to talk to you. So you might as well like invest in that relationship, because if they're good, it will pay off, right? And lastly, let's talk about networking here. So as for networking, a big part of solving problems is getting the right people. Like you want the right tool for the job, right? And so part of the skill of solving something is like, can I find the people who are most equipped to help me do this, right? Help me do this, help others do this, get us through roadblocks, provide advice, even join the team, whatever, right? People, like our organizations are made up of people, right? So if you have a skill to network with others across your organization and bring them in as you can, like accordingly, then that's really valuable. And it doesn't matter that you're just an engineer, you're not a manager or something. You can still do that, you can still contribute. And your managers will be grateful to you, for sure. Like I've seen that myself. As for networking for your next job, we've all heard the saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know, right? And this becomes even more true, like the more senior you get. Because the expectations are higher, the ROI has to be higher in order to like pay off for your higher income. Hopefully we're going up in income. And so, the more senior you get, the more guarantees people want that you're good enough to be senior. And the best guarantee is vouching from someone who is good, right? Assuming they're good, which can be a bold assumption sometimes. The point I'm trying to get at is, go to conferences, talk to people from other organizations. When you, if you strike up a conversation with another engineer, invest in it. Talk to them about what they do, talk about what you do. If you want to exchange contact information, do it. You're an extrovert. You talk to people all the time, right? So really invest in building that network, and it will pay off both over the course of your tenure at your current place and your transition to the next one, right? Networks are extremely valuable. I think that's an open secret at this point. Build your network. As an extrovert, it should be easier for you. Cool. Okay, so that pretty much sums everything up. I think these are the general ways in which being an extrovert as a software engineer can be really helpful, despite the stereotype kind of being we're all hermits. So I know I'm definitely not, and I go a little stir crazy if I don't talk to people. And so that's part of why I try to invest a lot of time and energy into how I present my work, how I interact in meetings with my manager, and then networking, building a group of people that I can leverage as I need to, right? And paying that back as well, showing that I can do good work, helping others where they help me. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm the unhinged engineer. I make content about software engineering, aerospace engineering, AI, ML, both technical stuff and non-technical stuff like this, where I'm just talking about navigating our often very confusing careers. If this is the kind of content you're interested in, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.